Today we will be discussing the dangers of smoking and the incentives of quitting. First, I want to talk about why people start smoking. When kids are younger, there's a lot of pressure for them to need to fit in. Sometimes as teens and even adults, we may do this as well. It's just in human nature. So some of the reasons may be that they think it looks cool, so maybe they want to try it. They may want to fit in with a certain group or crowd in their school, maybe at the workplace. Maybe it's just a friend, family, or peers that they look up to. Also, family and friends that smoke have an impact on the ones around them, whether it be children that are looking up to them as role models, someone the same age. It just varies. Also, children that grow up in households with smoking see it or perceive it as more normal and may think that more people do it than actually do. A few of the other reasons may be curiosity, rebellion, boredom, experimentation, or peer pressure. If a child gets curious about something, which they often do, they may want to try it. Sometimes children will be rebellious just to do it. Boredom, maybe they're bored, they're looking for something to do, they see some laying around and they pick them up to try them. Most people who start smoking plan on stopping at a later time. I can remember hearing friends say that they would smoke and then later in life would quit smoking as an adult. And I can remember people saying, oh, if cigarettes ever reach $5 a pack, I'm going to quit. Well, they're now more than $5 a pack, and those same people are still smoking. 75% of teens who start smoking are still smoking 9 years later or more. Smoking is one of the hardest addictions and habits to break. There are no benefits whatsoever that come from smoking. Only negative consequences are received. There are many myths that exist about how smoking can help a person, and we'll actually discuss that in just a moment. Smoking affects one's appearance. This can be in many different ways, from wrinkles, because wrinkles are definitely an effect of smoking. If you compare a 30 or 40-year-old adult, one who smokes and one doesn't, there will probably, unless they've had work or expensive lotions, moisturizers, etc., then there will be a significant difference in the amount of wrinkles as well as their skin and the appearance. Also, yellow teeth, yellow fingernails could also be a consequence. It also affects one's health in many, many ways. Smokers put off what's called secondhand smoke, which is definitely very harmful to others, including children and animals. We'll talk about that a little bit in just a moment. And a statistic for you, almost 50,000 non-smokers die each year as a result of secondhand smoke. And it takes an average of 5 tries before one is successful in quitting, which, might I add, can make them lose hope and they may just give up on the thought of quitting. 8.6 million suffer from cigarette smoke each year. So this is in different ways, health-wise, whether it be respiratory, maybe a condition with their heart, they lose lung capacity, so maybe they can't do as much as they once could. It could be sports performance, it could be just walking from the house to the car. 6 million kids that are now under the age of 18 that may or may not already smoke. Maybe they'll start smoking in the future. Maybe they already do smoke. But at some point in the future, they will lose their lives as a result of smoking. That's a very scary number. 6 million is definitely very high. On average, a smoker loses 13 to 14 years of their life due to smoking. Nicotine is a stimulant. That's one that I wasn't sure about. I had never heard that. But it is a stimulant, and therefore it can cause a difference in increase or decrease in your appetite, and we'll talk about that in a minute. This is a chart to show where on the body is affected by cigarettes. As you can see, many places are affected. One thing that's not on here is I'm sure in some of the Ugly Truth commercials you've seen different things, different facts that are listed, but there have been people that have lost limbs as well, maybe part of their leg, arm, as a result of smoking. But here this shows how smoking can cause cancer of the nose, the mouth, the larynx or your voice box, the trachea. So this is when someone would have to have a tracheotomy and they have the hole in their neck, in which case some people still can't quit smoking. So we'll have a picture of that in a little bit. There's people that continue to smoke after this because it's so addictive and it's so hard for them to quit. That's why it's really important, to never start. Also the esophagus, the throat, lungs, stomach, pancreas, kidneys, bladder, cervix, and bone marrow or blood. All of those body parts are affected by cigarette smoking. And the risk is real. It's definitely very real, and it's not worth it. Some of the other dangers of smoking include all of the following, and I'm going to kind of elaborate on some of these. Autoimmune disease. Smoking compromises the immune system, and so it's definitely more likely for smokers to develop like respiratory infections or illnesses. It jeopardizes, your health. It can cause Crohn's disease and double the risk of rheumatoid arthritis. And also smokers are 30 to 40% more likely to develop type 2 diabetes than non-smokers. Bone damage. Smoking can lead to decreased bone density and osteoporosis. It also lowers the amount of estrogen in women's bodies, so it may lead to an earlier menopause for women. The heart and a person's blood vessels are also affected. It can increase one's risk for atherosclerosis, which is a plaque buildup in the arteries. It can increase your risk of aneurysms, which can lead to death. Cardiovascular disease, which includes coronary heart disease, heart attacks, chest pain, high blood pressure. It can also lead to plaque buildup in arteries that carry blood to the organs and limbs. That is just so scary in itself. Also, strokes are a higher risk in a person that smokes. 30% of heart attacks are caused by smoking. Blood clots are 2 to 4 times more likely to form in a smoker. 90% of all lung cancer comes from smoking. 5% of non-smokers can get lung cancer, or do get lung cancer. A single cigarette reduces blood supply to the skin for an hour. So imagine if a person is smoking, 2 packs, 3 packs of cigarettes a day. That's a lot. So that's one of the reasons that they might get cold feet, cold hands more often. A person's lungs and breathing are also affected. So lung damage is definitely something that occurs when a person is a smoker. This is one that people are more familiar with, so we'll just cover that quickly. Every cigarette damages breathing. It scars the lungs. It can cause COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which can lead to wheezing, shortness of breath, and chest tightness. And actually, if there's a little activity that one could do just to see or to show others, especially children, this is a good activity to do with them, what it would be like to have COPD or emphysema. as a result of smoking. If you take a coffee stirring straw, just has a pretty small, it would be an airway for what you're using it for, and have the person jump up and down for about 10 seconds, plug their nose, stick the straw in their mouth, and breathe only through that, that would give them an idea of what it would be like to live with COPD or emphysema. Emphysema is when the walls between the air sacs and the lungs lose the ability to stretch and shrink back, so it's definitely hard for a person to breathe. Lung tissue is destroyed and makes it harder to breathe as well. Chronic bronchitis, pneumonia, asthma, and tuberculosis are just a couple other respiratory illnesses that can be a result of smoking. Something that people don't really think about is how vision can be impacted, but smoking is linked to an increase. This is also correlated with age-related macular degeneration, cataracts, optic nerve damage. Those are just to name a few. Cancer. We've all known that smoking can cause cancer, but we always focus on the lungs. There are so many places that could get cancer from smoking, including the lungs, trachea, esophagus, oral cavity, lips, kidney, liver, uterine cancer, rectum, colon, pancreas, bladder, stomach, larynx, nasal cavity. Also, leukemia may be related to that as well, especially for adults. There are about 7,000 chemicals, and 70 of those are known to cause cancer. So there are 70 chemicals in cigarettes that are known to cause cancer. Also, skin damage and muscle damage can occur. When one smokes, it decreases the amount of oxygen in the bloodstream and the amount of oxygen in your body. So that can definitely damage your muscles. This is just another diagram to show how tobacco affects one's body. This shows in the brain, nicotine is the drug that makes the tobacco so addictive, and that is what we were saying is the stimulant. The nicotine goes to your brain and it makes the person feel good when they're smoking, but it can also make them anxious, nervous, moody, depressed, etc. after the person is done smoking. It can also lead to headaches and dizziness. The mouth, tobacco stains your teeth, gives you bad breath. Tobacco ruins some of a person's taste buds, so you won't be able to taste your foods as well. Many people that I know that smoke will use a lot of salt and pepper on their foods. It also affects the heart. Smoking increases your heart rate and blood pressure, so if you try to do activities like exercise or play sports, your heart has to work harder to keep up. The lungs are damaged when smokers have trouble breathing because smoking damages the lungs. If you have asthma, you can have more frequent or more serious attacks. Smoking can cause a lot of coughing with phlegm or mucus. Tobacco can also increase emphysema and lung cancer, which we already talked about. Smoking causes dry, yellow skin and wrinkles, and also the smell sticks to your skin. Less blood and oxygen flow to your muscles, which causes them to hurt more when you exercise or play sports. So here we have an example. This is a real picture of a healthy human lung versus a tobacco smoker's lung. And you can see how the human lung is more full. The other one is kind of collapsed a little bit. You can definitely see all of the black that's on there. Tar is filtered through the lungs. So tar is a carcinogen, which means that it can cause cancer. One of the things that makes smoking so bad. Nicotine is what's terribly addictive and linked to higher risk of atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, and heart disease. Carbon monoxide reduces the amount of oxygen in the body. which affects blood flow, it affects the brain, muscles, and much more. The amount of damage that one may experience as a result of smoking, it varies because it depends on the number of cigarettes that a person smokes every day. If the cigarette has a filter, that is definitely going to have an effect. A cigarette without a filter is going to be about like secondhand smoke. There's nothing filtering out any of the chemicals. So also how the tobacco was prepared is going to be an important factor. This is just a little diagram to show some of the stuff that's in smoking. You can see there's an insecticide, like bug spray, ammonia, which is in toilet cleaner, paint, fuel, methanol, like rocket fuel, carbon monoxide, arsenic, which is poison, methane, like sewer gas, acetic acid, butane, which is lighter fluid, and cadmium, which is in batteries, stearic acid, which is in like candle wax, hexamin, which is like barbecue lighter fluid. So definitely something I don't want put in my body. So I mentioned myths earlier. There are some myths that people believe with smoking. But first, this picture down here, this is the reality of smoking. It's so addictive, and aside from the addiction, it becomes such a habit that people have a really hard time breaking it. This person, as you can see, has had to have a tracheotomy, but he will still hold the cigarette up to his throat to smoke. And I've had someone share with me before they had a family member that was so addicted that they would do that. So some of the myths. Cigarettes make you think clearly. This is definitely not true. We'll talk about this in a second. Cigarettes calm you down, smoking keeps you thin, and it is easier to quit later. The truth to those myths is that smoking has no effect on the reasoning process. The reason a person feels more calm after having a cigarette is because they're addicted to the nicotine, and it gives them their fix, just like an addiction to anything else. Smoking stimulates the central nervous system, so the appetite may be suppressed, but it does not change one's eating habits. So that's kind of, along with any other habit, smoking is not going to change that. 75% of teens are still smoking years later after they start. Many, many people plan on quitting later in life, but it's a lot harder than that. So why is smoking so hard to quit? If we know how bad it can be for us, and for whatever reason one starts, why is it so hard to quit? A few of these reasons are because of the addiction. Friends and family may smoke, which makes it harder to quit. A habit, it becomes a habit that you're used to. So it's just part of your daily routine. Peer pressure, social activity. When we go back to smoking keeps you thin, one other thing that goes with that is a person develops the habit. So when they have something in their hand all the time and they constantly are bringing their hand up to their mouth, if they try to quit smoking, they may replace that habit with something else, which will most likely be something like eating. So one might gain weight then. Here's another diagram that shows the psychological effects of quitting smoking, the way that the brain may work. Mild depression or sadness, anxiety, anger, and irritability, and the inability to cope. These are a few things that one experiences when their body is changing as a result of quitting. What might influence one to quit smoking? Loved ones. Maybe they, really want you to quit. Maybe the smoker feels like they're worth it. I know people that have been smokers, and when they find out that they're pregnant with their first child, they'll quit smoking. I've seen grandparents do this as well. Maybe they don't want to hurt the loved ones around them, and maybe their loved ones just want them to quit, so they do their best. Also sports, because they're affected. Maybe somebody is really good at sports and they can see their sports performance, decreasing. And they may charge it to smoking, which is probably where it should be charged. Feeling tired, it definitely can take your energy away. Decreasing your oxygen, putting that extra carbon monoxide in one's body definitely can leave one feeling tired. Their immune system is compromised, so the risk of getting sick is increased. The thought of losing time with family and friends, as we talked about, on average, depending on how much a smoker actually smokes, 13 to 14 years can be taken off of their life. It's about 11 minutes per cigarette that's taken off of somebody's life when they smoke. Some people don't like being controlled, and smoking definitely does that. It takes you over with the addiction. Frustrations and irritability from the addiction. If someone has a job where they can't just get up and smoke when they want, they may become more frustrated or irritable because they have that urge to go smoke, and so it kind of controls them and it may make them frustrated. So here's another picture of someone who had a tracheotomy, and it's just showing how addictive cigarettes can be. You see, even after this, they're still smoking. So now let's talk about how one might be able to quit. There are different options. Some people will quit cold turkey, and this is a term to describe when a person just quits. They don't gradually decrease, they just stop. They may fail and keep trying. They may have helped one or loved ones help them, or they may be trying to help a loved one quit. Treatments or aids such as nicotine gum, nicotine patches, maybe they'll switch to the e-cigarette, which isn't something that they should stick to, but it may help them quit the regular cigarettes. And the e-cigs do not have all of the extra chemicals or produce secondhand smoke. They do, however, still have nicotine. And then the other way would be gradually decreasing the amount that one smokes. So this is just the little diagram that I really like. It talks about quitting. It mentions health and therapy. Your health would be increased. There are helplines a person can call. It's important for someone to take it one day at a time. It is an addiction that can lead to cancer, breathing problems, can lead to lung problems. Basically just compromises the health of a person altogether. It's important when one's trying to break this addiction that they realize it's a habit and they try to replace that habit with something else. The nicotine is what's so addictive, so to break the habit first by maybe still getting your nicotine by using nicotine gum, nicotine patches, e-cigs, some of those things, that's a good idea. Some people have been known to chew on straws or have suckers, regular gum, stay busy, don't be distracted, ask for support. There are helplines there. Think of the pros versus the cons. Think of the money one's going to save. Think of your insurance that's going to go down, the time that you'll get to spend with your family and friends. Your children would have their parents around longer. It's a powerful change. It's something that's going to be hard to do, but anything worth fighting for and that's hard work is going to be worth it. We'll talk about some of the benefits in just a second. Also, something we haven't really talked about is smokers, they always will have that smell on them. They'll always, have it in their hair. They can use lotion, they can use gum, they can use chapstick, perfume, but it's always going to be there. And then if you have children, they're going to go to school and to, their friends' houses and stuff smelling like cigarette smoke. So let's talk about some of the benefits of quitting. With this, it's really interesting. The benefits start as early as 20 minutes after the last cigarette. Overall health improves more and more over time. We'll go into detail with that in just a second. The other thing is that one won't feel so tired and out of energy all the time. So again, here is another picture of some lungs. Which lungs would you prefer? The ones on the left that are clear, white, looking fresh, or the ones on the right that have been exposed to smoke and look like they've been burnt and have lung damage, basically affecting your respiratory system. All smoking causes fatal lung cancer. Okay, so benefits after just 20 minutes of from your last cigarette. Your blood pressure returns to normal. Your pulse returns to normal. Blood pressure or body temperature, of hands and feet also return to normal. The benefits within 8 hours of quitting include the carbon dioxide levels in blood become normal. Oxygen in blood returns to normal as well, which is going to benefit the muscles, the brain, all other organs, the blood flow, everything. This is also going to affect your energy and mood. Benefits of quitting cigarettes within 24 to 48 hours include regrowths, or the start of regrowing of your nerve endings, and then taste and smell enhance, which could lead to using less salt. And then the nicotine actually leaves the body by this time. Benefits within 72 hours include bronchial tubes relaxing and making breathing easier, and lung capacity actually increases. So better sports performance, better working out. It won't be so hard. Your body won't have to work as hard. Your lungs and your heart. Benefits within 2 to 3 weeks include improved circulation, walking becomes easier, lung function increases by 30%. That's pretty impressive. Benefits of quitting within 1 to 9 months include coughing, fatigue, and shortness of breath decrease, cilia regrows in the lungs, and body energy increases. Now this is something that's been happening in the whole process, but at this point it kind of, really starts to jump out. So then the benefits of quitting smoking within 5 and 10 years after your last cigarette include lung cancer death rate decreasing, precancerous cells being replaced, and other cancer risks are definitely decreased. I think this is just pretty cool, especially, the precancerous cells being replaced. Definitely very cool. Many smokers believe that once a person starts smoking, the damage is done. I've heard them say this, and this is just not true. As we discussed, many benefits come from quitting at any point. At any point. I mean, the benefits start as soon as 20 minutes after the last cigarette. You are worth it. The work will be worth it. Your family and friends are worth it. Let's quit today. I'd like to take some time to thank you for joining us. If you have any questions about today's webinar, please feel free to email communications@nbchs.org. And if you're interested in more webinars, please visit our website at www.healthdirectionsonline.org.